Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
That's because we can't
Welcome
see
back
them.
to Outside the Cinema. Well, I mean, they can see us, though.
It's not how the
And I'm
internet
using
works.
my,
Well, actually,
Yeah, no,
the
it's
internet
true.
does work that way now. Never mind.
It sure does. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your hosts, Bill and Chris. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah,
If you're
hey.
watching the show live on Twitch at twitch.tv/outsidethecinema, you'll notice again that my camera is not the normal quality that I usually broadcast with. It is the built-in camera in the Apple Studio monitor, which, bless you,
Thank you.
is supposed to be a lot better than the old webcam, but it's really not. So, and also I figured out how to use that center stage thing so it can make you really dizzy when I do this.
Oh,
this.
neat. Ah.
And I do this.
What does it focus on
Yep.
your eyes and just go from there?
I don't, dude. I don't know technology. I don't know. But welcome back to the
Technology,
show.
yes.
We are digging our way through Patreon picks. This week's show is programmed by our good friend and longtime listener, Joshua Gutierrez, the Goot. We don't hear from him nearly as much as we used to. What? What's so funny
I
about
don't
that?
know. Have you ever referred to him like that before?
I think so.
All right, that's fair then.
Because he's not the goat. We call him the Goot.
Right, well, yeah, I mean, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying before Chris so rudely interrupted me,
Yeah.
Josh has been with us for a while. We don't hear from him as much as we used to, but we know he's part of the Patreon and we know that he's listening. So this show is for him. His picks for this week were the 1973 Western Doc, starring the Keechster, Stacy
Yeah.
Keach.
A thin version.
And yes, still balls, but thin version. And Faye Dunaway were the two stars of that. And then the other filming, newer horror-esque, Giallo-inspired, wannabe Italian 70s flick called Knife+Heart on Shudder.
Yeah.
About Johnny Depp's ex-wife producing low-budget gay porn.
You mean in
That's what it's
60
about.
years, right? Because that woman was jacked up.
What do you mean in 60 years?
Well, like,
What do you mean?
Amber would have to get older in age because, like, she's still attractive.
Oh, he was married to
She's a piece-
Vanessa.
What?
He was married to Vanessa Paradis for like 10 years. They have kids together and stuff.
Who are you talking about? Is that who that woman was?
The main
I don't
star
know
of
anything-
Knife+Heart.
I don't know anything about these people's outside lives.
Why? Well, why?
Because I'm a normal
Yeah,
person.
Vanessa Paradis was married to Johnny Depp for I don't know exactly how many years. A while, but they've got kids together and stuff.
Oh. Okay.
So therefore my joke makes sense when I referred to Johnny Depp's ex-wife,
Well, I don't know.
Vanessa Paradis, who's also a very famous musician from France.
Okay.
Those
All right. None of that is
those are
going
the
to
two films for
change
this
my
week.
day, but okay.
No, it's not. I wish I could say I researched that, but I actually just happen to know it. So,
Oh, that might be worse. I got to look her up now because I'm not 100% sure what we're talking about here anymore.
yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff, but she's probably best known as a singer, I think.
Okay.
At least overseas. But so Josh programmed the show this week. If you want to program a show too, join our Patreon, patreon.com/outsidethecinema. You sign up for the $5 monthly donation. You get access to the shows early. You get the show archives. You get all the extra stuff that we put out there. You can send us films to cover for the show. We did Shane's last week. You know, we've been rocking and through a lot of them, splitting them up some weeks depending on what they are. We still got quite a few to get through. Actually, not that many. We've gone through a good chunk of them now.
Yeah.
I know we've got Vishnu's picks. Shane sent some additional ones if we would like to look at some of those. And I think if we can find some of them because he picked some trilogies and stuff. So maybe we could do something in there. We'll figure it out. But hey, listen, if you're not a member of the Patreon and you're supporting the show and you want to support, goddamn Bill, rewind. If you're not a member of the Patreon but you love the show and you're looking for a way to support the show, join the Patreon at patreon.com/outsidethecinema. I almost got through that time. Unbelievable. But yeah, we're gonna get
That's
right
right. You
into
can-
it.
You can not edit it and it'll be fine.
I never edit it.
I know. That's
I
what
don't
I'm
edit it.
saying.
We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Twitch.
Yep.
Actually, we don't broadcast live on YouTube, but you can watch the shows on YouTube. Just search Outside the Cinema, and all the shows show up on YouTube, and you get to see this cool center stage effect. It's like the worst dolly operator ever, because it's like any sudden movements, forget it, you're out of frame.
Yeah, oh, he's drunk.
And then apparently it doesn't go back.
You.
It doesn't go back in frame. So,
oh man,
eventually I'll get there eventually, guys. Okay, here we go. Anything else going on this week we need to talk about? I know Thor came out. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been to the movies in like 3 years, and I'm not intending on going anytime soon. So,
yeah, there's a new stronger variant going around now, so numbers are going back up, and people are getting shot everywhere they go. So I'm gonna stay home.
It's so true, man. I
don't want to sound like a wuss, like I'm worrying about nothing, but you can't go fucking anywhere without somebody maybe having a gun that wants to shoot people.
As a guy that in the past has been like, I'm proud of our country or whatever, but like I am just so like I'm ready to fucking leave, dude. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm like ready to like go. When we were in Canada a couple weeks ago, like I'm just like everything just feels better. Like I don't know. I'm like I can get poutine on tap. Like yeah, things are bad here, man. Things are bad here. If you're a woman, forget it. They're like, hey, fuck you and everything you want in your life.
Yeah.
An old white guy's going to tell you what you should do with your body, which is complete fucking bullshit.
I'm trying to be
There's no gun
about
control.
It. No, there isn't. I actually am now responding to official Biden and White House posts where what pisses me off is like, you want to fix this vote? It's like, motherfucker, listen to me, you stupid piece of shit. We already fucking voted. You're there.
Well, you're on a list now, so.
Fucking do something. That's what I'm writing to the President of the United States. Fucking do something.
I don't think he got your message, but.
No, well, he probably did
really
and is
funny.
ignoring it. But people need to fucking do something.
I think back to when Trump was president, and it wasn't that long ago, so.
No.
And how like we were like finally, we're Joe Biden, not the perfect pick, not the person I would have chosen, but you know what, significantly better than what we had. No. If anything, I feel like things might be worse.
I don't know if they're worse, but I know that. How about this?
I don't know. They just took away abortion, so.
How about this? What's happening is the previous administration's policies are maintaining through this one. So it's not that they're worse, it's just continuing, and no one can stop it. AOC was like, oh, people, we need you to donate. And I'm like, and I wrote, fuck you, do something to earn the money. Like, fucking seriously, I'm not giving you money. I'm not going to vote for you.
That idea of, you need to donate to what exactly? What are they asking you to send money to?
Oh, they're re-election campaigns. You know that's what it's going for.
Well, why? Yeah, why would I re-elect you at this point? You haven't done anything to help the everyday person. So
exactly.
Why would I send you money? Like that doesn't make. They all suck. Politicians are the worst. I'm going to move to Amsterdam.
A straight edge guy's going to move to Amsterdam? The hell?
Yeah, perfect place for me, dude.
Yeah, nobody will think to look for you there.
Perfect place for me. No, yeah, right. Nobody's going to see me. My wife would. If I said to my wife, listen. Seriously, let's look at moving to Amsterdam because her company is headquartered there. We could do it, and like, it wouldn't even be a thing. Like,
yeah.
The process to get the temporary visas, like we could go like that.
Right,
do that to my kid, though.
Because I know a lot of countries they I think I read that like Germany is like, okay, if you want to live here, you need to like be a productive member of society, and with Mel already working,
you can't just show up.
You're all set. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she could get like an extended work visa, like no problem. Might take a little while to get it, but like it wouldn't be a thing, and she would jump at the opportunity. You know my wife very well. Yeah. Obviously, our listeners know her. So I mean, anyone that's a regular listener knows Mel a little bit, knows that she is very, as she gets, and the older she gets, the more entwined and. Not militant's not the word because that's not at all what she is, but like outspoken and like hurt by the way things are changed, the way people are being treated. So I don't know, man. And if you would ask me 10 years ago if I would ever leave the country, I would have told you, like, to live somewhere else, I would have told you no way in hell. Now I'm like, maybe make me an offer. What's the film scene like in Amsterdam? Can I make movies there? If I can make movies there, great.
You can make movies anywhere. They made a movie in Antarctica once.
That's true. That is true.
I heard it was okay.
All right. Sorry, we got off track there. I heard it was cold. I heard it was very blue. I heard it looked very blue. Very blue. Anyway, all right, let's
depends
start
what filters
with...
you take with you.
All right, I have to... What am I doing here? I got to go back to... I got to get the trailer ready for this. No, guess what? Guess what? Not connected.
What's not connected?
The friggin' audio for the trailers and stuff. Of course it's not. Why would it be? Why would it be? It's because I let the battery die. I know exactly why. Why it wouldn't be. Because I let the battery die. Connect, please. Man. All right. I think we're good to go now. Now that I said that, we won't be, but... Oops, and then I changed the hit the wrong button.
Anne, c'est terminé. J'ai le cœur sec de toi.
Vous savez, quand on s'oublie avec l'autre, les autres, qu'on sait plus où on est, une forme d'amour en quelque sorte. Puissant, vorace, sans limite. Ça vous est jamais arrivé?
Votre acteur a été poignardé, une mort particulièrement violente.
Carl venait de tourner dans un de mes films.
Quel genre de film exactement?
Oh, arrêtez votre charme, faites pas le coup des types qui sont pas renseignés. T'es un super beau mec, tu sais.
Vous faites quoi?
Je suis productrice de films érotiques. La seule chose, c'est que parfois on manque de filles. Alors on fait ça entre mecs. Tu appelles-moi demain matin?
Détective Rachid, j'écoute.
Je crois que je vais changer le titre du film. Le tueur au mot. Vous en dites quoi?
Je me trompe ou tout ça te fait ni chaud ni froid?
Alors comme ça, vous n'avez aucune piste? Vous attendez que tous mes acteurs crèvent pour vous mettre au boulot?
Personne veut tourner avec nous, ils sont tous terrifiés.
Il y a bien un indice. Près des 2 premiers cadavres, on a retrouvé des plumes d'une même oiseau. Tu devrais être plus attentive à tes rêves. Ils sont là pour t'aider.
C'est cet amour qui est trop pour moi. Ça me rend dingue, tu comprends?
Okay, we have Knife+Heart. Un couteau dans de la cour.
Yeah, I hope that
starring
hope that
Vanessa
trailer
Paradis.
helped everybody that doesn't speak French.
Well, it lets you know that it is a French film.
That is true.
Starring Vanessa Paradis, Nicolas Maury, Kate Moran, Jonathan Jennett. Directed by Jan Gonzalez, who also directed a film in 2017 called Islands. And he worked as a writer on a few other films. But he's a fairly new in filmmaking. Like, he's been working for the last 10, 11 years or so, working on like smaller projects, and has gotten more and more as he's gone on. So this film, Knife+Heart, is available to stream exclusively in the US on Shudder. It is it is inherently inspired by and attempting to be a giallo from the 1970s, made in Italy. Or Italian style production. It is dripping with the feel of that, but made in a modern day. Well, it's not in a modern day setting because it takes place in 1979 in Paris, which I think is another interesting choice there, because it takes place in 1979, but it's trying to be a film from like the early 70s, because like all of those. The better and most famous giallos came from like 1969 to like 1975. So it's an interesting look for sure. And it is, one of the more forefronted or well-known queer horror movies from the last few years. It did very well in a number of different festivals, which is why Shudder scooped it up. Your synopsis is pretty simple. It's summer 1979 in Paris. Anne, played by Vanessa Paradis's character, is a producer and filmmaker of gay porn on the relatively cheap side. Comes across a number of times when she's offering money to people and they're like kind of laughing at the money that she's offering.
Yeah.
So basically, she is the one that runs the production company and works on many of the films. She is coming out of a relationship with her editor. Her editor is named Lois, played by Kate Moran. She's got she's carrying a flame for this woman.
Yeah.
And then is starting to kind of lose her grip on reality. She calls her up in the middle of the night. She, threatens her and basically does all of those things that like an obsessed stalker will do, to the point of physically attacking her at one point. But that's further down the rabbit hole of this film. But we are introduced to a young gentleman at the beginning who goes unnamed at first. He is at a nightclub dancing away. We are then introduced to the masked killer in this, which is a very Giallo-esque killer wearing a leather jacket, black leather gloves, a leather gimp-ish mask with curly hair on the top of it.
Yeah, I gotta say,
I'm not sure whether it's supposed to be... No, go for it.
I thought the mask actually was pretty effective face-wise, because the way the actor underneath used their teeth through it, that was very disturbing. The hair, not so much.
So, yeah, definitely looked like a wig.
Yeah.
So, if anything, as you're watching this movie, you're brought into that dance club. You learn that you have this masked killer because he murders the young man, ties him up, and then murders him with. And this is I think where one of this film has its biggest issues is it doesn't know. All right, so I'm going to say what happens, and think for you guys, and you obviously already know, Chris, but like for those of you guys that haven't seen this movie. Does it sound like it's serious, or does it sound like it's a comedy, or does it sound like he takes this gentleman to a room, which doesn't really matter. I think it's supposed to be his room, but it doesn't matter. Ties him up, gags him. We think that there's some kinky sex stuff going to happen. Mm-hmm. The gentleman, and again, leather mask, gloves, like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what club this guy was at, but there should have been probably some bells going off that this guy was just like hanging out at like a regular club. Like,
yeah.
If he was at a specialized place looking for this, I get it. But like, he was the only guy there in a leather mask. So, and he ties this kid up, and he's gonna, the kid's thinking they're gonna have a crazy night. He pulls out a large black dildo, and everything is still going to plan until a knife shoots out the end of it. So the large black dildo now has a knife sticking out of it. And then he proceeds to murder the young man using said knife. Now, I say that, and it sounds like it's a comedy, right?
Yeah, because dildos don't have
knife dildo
the tensile strength to hold a knife inside of it after repeated stabbing without it splitting into two pieces, I would imagine, or at least a one big long cut opening up the side of it. And it just kind of falling out. It's an impractical weapon, is what I'm saying. Sound. Yeah,
right. It doesn't make any sense, but and it just also seems so silly.
Yeah.
When you say it out loud, what happens? It sounds like a fucking like slapstick comedy, a movie like making like a scary movie type film that's making fun of the tropes of a giallo or something like that, right?
Yeah.
No, guys, this is played serious. It's not played for laughs, and it's played 100% by the best. So, we then are introduced to a bunch of the other characters.
Yeah.
Now, this movie is about Anne and Lois's relationship probably more than it is anything. It's almost that, and that's another part of it that's kind of frustrating, is that it's supposed to be this unseen, unknown killer that's taking out people, but we spend more time following Anne around and watching her sulk about being dumped, and then seeing her do all of the things that, is the reason why she's no longer in this relationship with her. And it kind of keeps going. And then every now and then the killer will show up.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this without getting into too many specifics. This is, trying to be a giallo, and it succeeds in being a giallo because there is a shitload of stuff that happens in this movie that doesn't have anything to do with the story, does not let you have any type of idea of who the killer is, why the killer is killing anyone, or any of the stuff that's actually happening. So, like, so many of those lower tier giallos. Right. Bunch of nothing until you get to the end of the movie, and then it's like, boing!
Yeah.
Here's the killer.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that guy was in a scene.
Yeah, because how many of these have we watched where we get to like the halfway point and we're like, these people don't give a shit that people are being killed. No one is acting with any sense of self-preservation or anything. Why do I care if they don't? That's typical for like I would say a third of giallos. We're just gonna people
and
are
like
dying,
so many
I'm just gonna hang out here.
Right, and like so many other giallos, it relies so heavily on its visuals to keep you engaged in what's going on and pay attention to what's going on. Now, I've watched almost all of the giallos out there. I know there's some I haven't seen, but I've seen almost all of them. I've seen a very large amount of Italian cinema. I've seen a decent amount of French cinema now at this point. And I also feel like I've seen a lot of queer and gay horror at this point too, whereas like I'm not shocked by anything anymore.
Yeah.
What I was kind of, and I'm not going to say shocked because I wasn't shocked. I mean, I've seen a lot of nudity in films, and I've seen, men with women, men with men, women with women.
Yeah.
I've seen everything in a film at this point. But I really felt in this film there was a lot of points where they were pushing that, what they thought was pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
But just pushing the agenda down your throat that it almost comes off homophobic. Like it's a parody of, and this is the second time I've used the parody comparison. It's a parody of what it's actually trying to be.
Yeah, it feels like some of the gay characters to me felt a lot like the stereotype of how they're portrayed in 70s films. Very effeminate, no agency of their own, that kind of thing. Or they're the bad guy, which is a lot of, not a lot, but certainly enough blaxploitation movies for it to be a trope. That is a thing where the gay person is the bad guy because they're gay, apparently. I'm not sure. Right. But yeah, there was a point where I'm watching it and I'm thinking, is this a positive thing? Is this a positive portrayal of this particular group of people in this movie? Because it's not everybody. I mean, it's not gay people, it's not whatever, but it's that whatever particular group we're watching this group of porn actors. And I don't know. I mean, we have different sensibilities from a different country in this, so I don't even know if is that how. I don't know. I don't know. I can keep asking questions the whole time, but I started to feel like they were like the characters were being portrayed almost as pathetic and just being used to make money, which I don't really see as too far off from what the story was doing, but that's what Depp's ex-wife was doing, was using these people to make money. But was the movie doing that? Were they capitalizing on I don't know. I mean, I felt everything in this movie I thought was trying too hard. I thought it was trying too hard to ride on the coattails of the LGBT movies that have come before it. That's like, I mean, this came out last year or 2 years ago, I think originally, and that's 2018 it says. And that was a big trend at that time, and people were making some really great films, and I just kind of felt like it was just trying too hard. I think the watershed moment for this type of film was the freaking movie Cruising back in the day. Okay, that really gives you this kind of like feel for this world.
Whereas this one doesn't give me any type of feel other than you're playing the stereotype of the oversexed gay man that all he cares about is being, is being fabulous and fucking. Like, that's what the presentation came across for a lot of these guys to me.
Yeah.
Now, I understand they were supposed to be adult film stars, but still, like, you didn't give me any type of character development on any of these characters. So as the handful of people, and there's not a lot of killing in this, so don't think you're going to go into it and have a bunch of stylized killing, because there's only three? Was there 3 murders, 4 murders, if even that?
At most.
3 or 4. I think it was 3 or 4. And I like the masked man lurking in the background, but there's like the best giallos, taking away all of the other, peddling to whatever crowd you're peddling to, is just boring. It's just boring. It's, you talk about style over substance. It's barely style over substance.
Yeah. Yeah. It does feel, because I don't know anything about the filmmakers. It sort of feels like they're exploiting the actors, maybe because the character in the movie is clearly exploiting these people. That's the feeling I get overall with this movie. I don't know.
Well, and it's so in your face. Like, what's the name? What was the name of the movie? Homicide? Is that what it was?
That's what they were going to call it. Yeah.
So she's in. Yeah. So Anne, the director's inspired by the murder of one of the stars, and decides that she's going to make this artsy, adult film, and calls it Homicide.
Yeah.
And it's like the laziest title for what would be a gay, a gay porn like that you can come up with. Like,
yeah,
not even interesting.
Can I just
things,
as an aside,
sure.
There's a movie, I think it's with Kevin Bacon coming out, and I think it has the most brilliant title, as opposed to Homicide. It's they, them, right? But it's a slasher movie, and there's the dividing line between they and them, so it's they/them. But it looks like they, them.
I like that.
That's fucking brilliant. I'm going to watch the movie because somebody rolled the dice on that title and got a fucking Yahtzee.
Yeah. There's some stuff I do like about this movie. I think the score by M83 is great. I think it's it's an incredible score. And it works really well with some of the stylized stuff that they are doing. There are these kind of like flashback scenes that Anne has of like some really stark black and white with like heavy film grain, and some fire, and like stuff that's supposed to be telling you a story, but really is just pretty more than anything else. But layered with the music, it's really cool. Vanessa Paradis too, like, she's good looking, and she does not look good in this movie. And I can't tell whether it's a stylistic choice to make her look that haggard, or if she's just having a rough go of it. Which, for a film that is relaying so heavily on its style, like, it just seems like it would seem like an odd choice to have your main female star, despite them not necessarily supposed to be like a sex pot or anything. And then she's a little bit older. She's not like old by any chance. Right. I think she's like maybe in her early 50s. Which is, I mean, in Hollywood now, I mean, look at Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez is in her in her mid 50s now too. And
what's her face there from Mandalorian? Ming-Na. She's in her 60s.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I looked her up.
Or late 50s.
I'm looking at a bunch of Google images, and it seems like the hair and the lack or makeup that makes it appear as lack of makeup is what made her look like a weathered boulder in the desert. Because they really did make her look...
it was probably a stylistic choice then.
Yeah, they really did make her look like she has lived a rough life as that character. And she doesn't... Through these images, like, she does... I mean, she's always had the gap in her teeth, which is a very defining characteristic for her.
Cards.
Yeah. But other than that, she's just very thin. And you know, with the right makeup, you can look like a junkie or anorexic or whatever. So, yeah.
All very weird. Very weird stylistic choices in this movie. I get 100% what they were going for, but goddamn, you just tried too hard. That's plain and simple.
My biggest problem with this, as I will... Oh, you got to say the thing, because you always say the thing. I don't just jump into it.
Oh, Oh, yes. Chris,
Yeah.
do you recommend, and what is your grade for Knife and Heart?
I am not going to recommend this because this is for a very specific audience. So I can't give this a broad audience recommend. Just like I wouldn't recommend Base Moi or anything else that is very specific. This is very specific.
Right.
Now, my main problem with this movie is that the idea of a masked killer hunting down male gay film stars is perfectly fine for a script. But I would say 60% of this movie is just them doing everyday shit. This movie feels like how Family Guy episodes are built with your A and B story, but there's nothing in the A story to make it a full story. So you have to have a B, C, and D story going on too. There's not enough of the killer, and there's too much of these people just doing whatever they want. And every once in a while, some guy will say, hey, shouldn't we be worried that people are dying? And everybody's like, shut the fuck up. Smoke your cigarettes.
That's so true, though. That's that actually happens at a point where they're like, hey, you all seem to be very okay with the fact that 3 people we know got murdered in the last week.
Yeah. They're like, have a baguette. Have a croissant. This movie is not for me. 100%. I am perfectly happy with saying I am not the person that should be reviewing this movie because I didn't like it. It's not for me. It's not my audience. It's not my scene. It's not my anything. It's on set. They have fluffers in porn. They call the poor guy Mouth, and you find out that he's not getting paid to do the job. He just does it because he likes it. And it's basically like half blowing people on set to get them ready for the camera. And that was the point where my brain's like, nope, all right, who can I tag in now? Because I just felt way too bad for the people, for the characters. He was quite literally a pathetic character. Yeah, he's doing what he loves, but he looks fucking miserable doing it. It's not the kind of thing that I would gravitate to.
No, it's not. No, it's not your thing.
And
not your thing, dude.
I honestly felt like the performances were kind of amateurish for a bunch of them. I didn't really get
one-dimensional for sure.
Yeah, I didn't really get you didn't get fully formed characters from this. It's all just surface level. And I get it. That might make sense with what you're trying to do, but it doesn't. No. However, with that said, that is how you make a giallo. A whole bunch of bullshit and then a guy killing people in the middle of it.
Yeah, throw it all at the wall and whatever sticks.
Yes. So they were true to what they were trying to make. However, I didn't think it was any good. But like when I review a kid's movie, I got to review it different in that mindset. So I'm just gonna go in the middle and give it a C. It looked good. There were probably some good ideas there. It's not my kind of movie. Like a Nicholas Sparks movie isn't for me. Neither is this.
Right.
It's not my genre.
That's all fair.
And I'm not
That's
hating on anybody or anything. Just personally, not for me. And that's
all right.
And that's what you do instead of going online and shitting on it and being homophobic. You just say, okay, no.
You made your point,
pass.
man. People are going to think you're homophobic if you keep pushing it.
All right, that's a good point. Because that is a weird situation to be in, isn't it?
We get it. It's not your film. We get it. We'll move on.
All right. But wait, no.
I really liked certain aspects of this. I did really like the look of it. I liked the feel, love the music. But it is a very specialized crowd for this. This is not your anybody. You're not your your buddy that liked the Texas Chainsaw remake from Netflix last year, or the new Texas Chainsaw film or one of those. This is a very like, and I can see why Josh suggested this movie for us, knowing, at least I'll speak for myself, I won't speak for you, but knowing my love of giallos, my love of kind of like out there edge horror. But I didn't particularly like it.
Yeah.
So my recommend comes with the caveat of, if you're into queer horror and you're into giallos, then yes, I think maybe give it a shot, because it does have a great look to it. It has a cool feel, incredible score, and it lives in that giallo feel of one-dimensional actors, pedestrian script. And it's more about the way things look than actually what is happening on film. And also, with that said, if you have an aversion to nudity and sexual stuff on screen, then you definitely need to steer clear of it, because there is lots of it in this.
Yeah.
And it's presented in a very uncomfortable way. In not all of the instances, but a large chunk of the instances, it's presented lit very specifically and as part of certain scenes, so it comes across almost combative in a number of ways.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have been able to articulate that, but yeah. It's almost like they're daring you to look away. It's
absolutely a stylistic choice. Yeah, and it's all done very purposely.
That's true. That's true.
But with that said, I did not particularly like it. I thought the script was real bad. A lot of the acting was very one-dimensional. Whether that was an artistic choice or not, I'm not sure, because if you do go back and watch a lot of those older giallos, especially the ones that are like just outside of that top tier, like obviously your Curse of the Scorpion's Tail and Strange of Iceman's Ward. Then if you get down to like the strip nude for your killers and Lady of what was it, Forbidden Photos of Lady Above Suspicion, the Red Queen kills 7 times, those ones that are like not the worst things in the world, but like are still like I don't know. Some of them work very well, some of them don't. I could see probably if I've watched 5 films that were like in this genre specifically, I would say probably 2 of them would be good and 3 of them would probably be bad. So I think it has its audience. I see why it did well in a lot of the film festivals it was in. I just didn't particularly like it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a C-, knowing that there is definitely a crowd for this film that would really enjoy it, but then knowing that the vast majority of you guys out there probably would feel the same way that we do about it.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, and you know what?
I'm glad I watched it, though. Don't get me wrong.
Don't
get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is Josh's first pick, Knife+Heart. With the second pick, he's going much more back to what we know and love with the 1970s, and this is the 1971 Doc Holliday film starring Stacy Keach and Faye Dunaway, simply titled Doc. Here's a trailer.
Heroes aren't always beautiful. Into the camera. He gambled for a living and killed for a hobby. He spent 7 years dying, and he made damn sure he didn't go alone. For the past 90 years, this man has been a hero. Until now. Some men bought her. Some got her for nothing. Playing for the lady.
Why don't you play the gentleman?
One hand of stud, and she belonged to the winner. Or the loser. They all treated her like dirt. Why not? For the past 90 years, this woman has been a heroine. Until now. On a good day, he might pistol whip a drunk, shoot an unarmed man, bribe a politician, and get paid off by an outlaw. I run the law. You run the gambling. We'll both end up rich. He was a U.S. Marshal. For the past 90 years, this man has been a hero. Until now. Shotguns. They got shotguns. You fair? Fair, talk to her. Talk. Doc Holliday. Katie Elder. Wyatt Earp. There has never been a Western like Doc.
For the past 51 years, this film has been presented as the prequel to Tombstone. No, it hasn't been. But I did watch this originally for the first time after watching Tombstone, and I think like Wyatt Earp and somebody had said to me, "Hey, you should watch Doc from the '70s. It's a completely different look at the history here." So, one night in 1881, Doc Holliday, a famous poker gambler, enters the No Name Saloon. There he challenges a man to poker, betting his horse against his opponent's fiancée. Doc wins, and from now on, Katie Fisher, also known as Katie Elder, will follow him wherever he goes. Their next destination is Tombstone, where the law is represented by Sheriff Wyatt Earp. That's not true, because when this film starts, he is not the sheriff. He is running for sheriff.
Right.
When they arrive, the election campaign is in full swing. Earp runs for candidate, but the Clantons, a famous gang of outlaw cowboys, are not among his keenest supporters. Conflict erupts following the failure of some of shadowy bargaining, and Doc decides to join Wyatt and his brothers. The four of them gather at the OK Corral, where the 7 Clanton brothers are waiting for them. So this is a loose interpretation of the history of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. Obviously, there's been a number of movies made about this, probably most notably Tombstone is the one that kind of looks at it all. Chris, are you a fan of this type or this area of American history? Or do you know a lot about it? Or like,
I know enough about it, I think, but I am not really a fan of old Westerns. How about that?
This is true.
Yeah, I never fell into the mystery of it or the mystique of the Old West, because it's like, well, everybody smells like cow shit. You're all dirty and sweaty all the time. Everybody's got guns. What fun is this? I mean, I got STDs looking at the prostitutes in this. Come on.
Yeah. I enjoy a good Western. Don't get me wrong. They're not my normal forte, but this is definitely a film I feel it's got something else going for it. It's obviously got killer performances, as we said. Doc Holliday is played by Stacy Keach. Kate is played by Faye Dunaway. Harris Yellen plays Wyatt. A bunch of other character actors that you would recognize if you watch a lot of films from this time period. As we said earlier, also, it is directed by Frank Perry that directed it, who also did David and Lisa and Mommy Dearest.
Oh.
I think he also did, if I'm not mistaken, Last Summer, but that one I'm not positive about, and my IMDb in front of me is crashed,
okay.
So I can't tell you. Oh, you know what other movie I think he did? I think he did that Shelley Long movie where she like dies and comes back. Was it?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
No.
I remember that.
Hello Again.
Yeah.
Hello Again. That's what it was.
You said Shelley Long, and I thought Shelley Winters.
No, I meant Shelley Long, the film that was not Camp Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
So, this is a retelling of that history, but painted much more probably into the light of how it actually went down. As you know, they said in the trailer, and it was all over the promotion materials for this. You know, for the past 90 years, these guys have been known as heroes until now. And in this, the three of them are presented very much as flawed characters that were looking out for themselves more than they were looking out for anybody else, or doing the right thing for the town, or trying to help and protect people.
Yeah, that's what I never
everyone's
understood
a scumbag
about that. Is like, why are these people, particularly these people, romanticized to the point where they're like god level folk heroes? Like, they're just a bunch of dudes with guns. I don't know. I never thought that any of them had any altruistic intention, no matter what version of what movie I've seen them in. So this wasn't a surprise, this realistic version, I guess.
No, I mean, and it's still, and when we say realistic, we say it with, realistic, the quotes there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know how much of it was. I mean, even in the real history, Holiday was known as kind of a gunfighter that would, play poker. And if he didn't like the way the game went, maybe the guy ends up dead.
Yeah. What's the movie?
And he's known to have
where they learn even the Old West wasn't the Old West. And it's some argument about guns.
I forget. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up because now I need to know.
Anyway, yeah, you look it up. So, I mean, basically the story is, Doc wins Kate Elder in that game. He's basically like, I'm going to Tombstone, Arizona. And she's like, can I come? And he's like, no. And then he's like, fine, I'll bring you. And then they go their own separate ways. Doc basically has got a very big reputation. People know that he's a gunfighter that's really good.
Oh, shit.
And he's basically... What?
It was Demolition Man.
All right, there we go.
But he's right. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So Stacy Keach's Doc Holliday is played very soft-spoken, but he's deadly when he pulls his gun out, He decides that he wants Kate to be his wife or whatever, so he basically goes into the brothel where Kate's working, takes her out of there, and is just like, you woman, be mine.
Yeah,
like,
very, very caveman.
Misogynistic. Yeah, and that's the Old West.
But that's the romanticized version of it, saving the prostitute. Right? That's so cliched.
But it's not saving the prostitute. It's taking, and she says this too. It's taking. She's like, "How am I supposed to work and make money? You're taking me away from what I'm supposed to do." And he's like, "Yeah, well, you don't do that anymore." So
yeah, quote unquote. That's his idea. That's the movie idea of saving them because now they don't have to do anything, even if it's what they loved.
That's right. So, but I mean, one thing I do really like about this movie is it's portrayed very dirty and gritty and grimy and hot, and like everybody looks dirty and everybody looks nasty. And I'm like very much like there was 2 different times in this film where I was like, oh man, that dude needs to take a bath. And then Stacy Keach is like, prepare me a bath with hot water. And I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You smell.
I was reading up on how often those people bathed. And it wasn't as often as you would want them to, especially in the winter.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Old West smelled like balls and horse shit.
I agree.
And probably dead bodies.
Right. I will say this. I thought Stacy Keach is awesome in this. I really liked his portrayal of Doc in this. I love that he was soft-spoken. He didn't really need to say a whole lot to like prove his point. And he's got those moments where he comes across like a good guy, and that's probably what the guy was like. He was probably a very feared guy, but
nice to his
probably
friends.
Wasn't an all bad guy too.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Like the kid who's loosely based on Billy the Kid. I don't remember whether Doc Holliday actually taught Billy the Kid how to shoot or not. That seems like a pretty big stretch, but
it completes his character arc, though, doesn't it? It completes the kid's arc and also what Doc, where his morals are, which was very interesting. I liked the whole arc with the kid, which I'm not gonna spoil.
Yeah. But I will say this: it did make me want to look more into Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp's history, just to see how much of the romanticization has like completely skewed who these people were.
Right.
Because like that stuff is taken almost as fact now that these were the guys that went to the old K Corral and they stopped the Clampetts or whoever or the Clements or whoever it was, and they say he stopped Jed Clampett.
That's all right.
But they went in there and they were the good guys. Yeah. I know, right? They went in, they were the good guys, and maybe that isn't all true.
Yeah.
So, and I'm willing to bet back in those days, the guy that, was willing to take out the other guy was the guy that was in control. So usually the better person wasn't the one that was probably making the decisions.
Yeah, it was the more cunning, the person that could do the deal, that knew how to work both sides or all 3 sides against themselves or for his benefit. A peacemaker. That's really what the sheriff was hey, I won't arrest you, but
Yeah.
don't fucking come here.
Right. And he's supposed to be portrayed as he's weak because of that.
Yeah.
Because he's not willing to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, it's a very...
He's not willing to take everyone's money.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately, so that's a very Romulan frame of mind. Fight or you are weak.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, what I do like about this movie, though, is I love its presentation. I love its look. I love its feel. It's got that classic Western style score to it. I do wish that they'd been able to get a little bit, because if they were really trying to show you, the flawed characters these guys were, a little bit more into the history of the characters and why they ended up the way they did might have helped, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Stacy Keach and Faye Dunaway are both excellent. Harris Yulin as Wyatt is pretty good.
He's all right.
But I think Stacy and Faye are they're the two runaways in this movie in terms of all right, yeah, you guys are putting it all.
Yeah. As far as on camera looking like the parts they're supposed to play, I think they're all really good because Wyatt is supposed to kind of be this, on first glance, very, very classy, educated type guy, but if you get to know him a little more, he's a little Weasley. He's a little playing both ends toward the middle to get what he wants, and he looks like that kind of person. Kurt Russell doesn't.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell was
No.
in Tombstone. Kurt Russell walked in. He almost felt like he was like a guardian angel for the city. He was above reproach.
Right.
I will say though, I do like Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday more than anybody else's.
I do too.
Maybe because I saw his at a formative time, formative age, but he brings so much charm and comedy to a role of a dead man walking, basically, which Keach didn't do. I felt like Doc was, he had 10 more years left at this point, but Kilmer's had weeks, it felt like, in that movie, because he was yellowish pale and sweaty, and here Doc has coughing fits which lead to blood at one point, and he can't drink, and you do feel bad for him, but it's never really discussed like it is in Tombstone. So it's more of a, if you know kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So, I guess should we grade?
Yeah,
Should we grade, or you got more you want?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Do you recommend, and what is your grade for Doc?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend this. And I would say before Tombstone came out, this would have been a top 3. Just interpretation of the events. Now, with Tombstone out and some other stuff, I think maybe we're talking top 5. It may just be because I like the people in Tombstone. I like it more than this. But this was a character-driven movie, which was nice. It wasn't an action-driven thing. It wasn't a heist. Those things happen, but it's about how the people themselves react in the situations and what they're going to do. And that kind of manipulation, conniving, plan-making, double-cross, whatever, I actually found really interesting, while he's trying to balance it with him basically trying to get out of the whole deal and just be married and not bother anybody till he dies. But he has a duty to his friends, and I felt that felt believable. So it was good. I don't know if it felt too long. I don't really think it did. I think there was a point where I'm like, oh, Jesus, what else could happen? And then it's almost like, it's like you see the stories like, oh, this edible ain't shit. And then bam, because that's exactly what happened. I'm like, nothing is happening. What is going, bam. Okay. Stagecoach robbery.
Oh, shit.
All right. So it's good. It does. It would fall under scrutiny for it being a 70s movie and it being, squarely in that mindset of how the West looked back then. which is fine. I'm sure there were dirty, gross towns with, you know, a whole bunch of brothels filled with women that are there. That's something else I liked about this too. All the women were not portrayed as like just beautiful blonde, brunette, and redhead. There's all different kinds of shapes and sizes in there. And the men didn't care. They're just happy to see women. And that was kind of nice. Everybody's happy about the job they provide, including the providers. So, yeah. A lot of sex work in this week's movies.
Yeah, well, you know, it's an OTC episode.
I guess, yeah. OTC classic.
Well,
so,
all right, is it my turn now?
Oh, no, I'm going to give this a B.
Oh, no, you didn't actually grade yet. Okay.
Right, B. I'll give it a B. B.
B for bosom.
B for the Bold West.
I'm recommending it also. I'm recommending it also. Right. I enjoyed it. There was some stuff that wasn't perfect, but I love the look. I love the feel. It's got everything you want from a Western from this time period. A little bit more avant-garde than some of the other ones that you see.
Yeah.
I like those ones that there's a little bit like the Grand Silence is like that. What was High Plains Drifters got that kind of weird feel going on. Like I like the ones that get a little more almost like not necessarily psychedelic, but like a little bit more than you would normally
more than just
get.
Straightforward cows and desert. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm into it. I recommend it. You can watch it for free on Pluto. You can watch it for free on Tubi. It's out there and you can check it out. As far as a grade, I'm going to go C+. It's not quite great. It's good. You know what? B-. I'll give it a B-. It's better than a C. And, I think if you have any, passing interest in the actors that are involved or in Westerns or in, the history of Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp, then it's definitely something to add in there. And I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of glad that we watched things, do we think that Joe was glad that he watched Vampires de los Muertes?
I think there's a small part that might be like, all right, this was kind of cool in a stupid way, but he's gonna not like it.
All right.
So that's a both. I said both.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here. And this week, Bill took me down to Mexico. He made me watch Vampires, Los Muertos. I'm always curious about the impetus behind things. So Carpenter makes Vampires, and I seem to remember it being a success, but like a lot of his movies, not a big success. Cut to 4 years later, and I'm assuming they had like a generic vampire movie script. Somehow Bon Jovi gets involved. The script probably got doctored up to jive with the original film, and next thing you know, I'm stocking the new release shelf of Ion Video in Grand Rapids, Michigan with a couple of DVDs and VHS copies of Vampires Los Muertos. Now, last week I said I didn't remember anything about the OG film, despite knowing I had seen it.
That's right.
That was with over 20 years of time passed. The only thing I remember about this film was not enough time had passed. I remembered not liking vampires. So instead of bringing this home that night, I probably just brought home Drop Dead Gorgeous for like the 30th time. And probably also the Def Jam Fight for New York video game for probably also the 30th time. The trope of a movie being a theatrical release and then all of its sequels going straight to video could be used as an eerily accurate analogy for the American way of doing business. We only want to put effort into something once, and then we just keep squeezing that fruit with less and less enthusiasm and originality, expecting the same results time after time. I'm looking at you, all 6 straight-to-video American Pie sequels, a series that was dead by the time the opening credits on the 3rd movie had started. I'm also looking at you, the 5 Bring It On sequels. I'm not mad at you. I'm just annoyed that I have to browse past you constantly on every single streaming service because you're probably cheap content and nobody wants you to be exclusive to them. But yeah, Los Muertos. Let's get into it. Quick IMDb search. The guy that wrote and directed this also directed Halloween 3, Fright Night 2, and the 1990 version of It. So I guess that's at least a little bit hopeful.
That's a hit and miss right there.
I mean, he also directed a shit ton of Baywatch episodes, but I'll try not to hold that against him. So, Slippery When Wet is a vampire hunter like James Woods in the first movie. He's down in Mexico doing his thing solo, but not for the church, like the other team. Oh no, he works for, get this, the Van Helsing Society, which they never bring up again after like the first couple minutes of the movies. It's like sense. Charlie's Angels kind of thing, where there's like a voice on his laptop that's his boss, but again, they only touch on this in like the first 10 minutes of the film. Except it's 2002. It's 2002 here. Like shit, son, people were still using AIM Messenger at that time. Also, you're in a pretty remote little village in Mexico. I live in central Michigan in 2022, and without my Wi-Fi, I don't even have a cell phone signal. Vampires existing are more believable than you having internet this strong in the middle of Mexico 20 years ago. After probably spending 10 minutes downloading a faked nudie of, I don't know, who was popular 20 years ago? Tara Reid? Sure. After that, he's told he needs to form a team because there's some big shit happening. He finds them all, but not before they're 86'd by a pretty cute, like, master vampire lady. He also meets a young woman who was bitten, but hasn't turned thanks to some experimental... She hasn't turned into a vampire because she's taking some experimental drug from a Mexican street doctor.
Oh, okay.
Right. Let's call her the movie ruiner, because her acting is about as natural and entertaining as a plank of styrofoam. She's trying like hell to be the manic pixie dream girl, but all she pulls off is contrived mental illness nightmare lady. She's also whiter than a fresh snowfall in January, as are about half the cast of this movie, which, as mentioned, takes place in Mexico. And not like Mexico on the border, not tourist Mexico, Mexico-ass Mexico. Like shit, this movie might as well take place in Lincoln, Nebraska. So, Bad Medicine puts together a found family of rejects to form his vampire hunting team, since the professionals all tanked worse than his 2013 album, What About Now, that nobody knew even existed. I had to Google for that shitty joke. Let me rephrase. The professionals all tanked worse than that joke. He's got a young, like, pre-fame Diego Luna, the Ruiner, whose acting makes an Andy Sedaris film look like Schindler's List. He's got a hunky priest, and he's got the oldest son from Family Matters. I swear to God, if Carl Winslow shows up and saves the day, this gets an automatic A. It's all standard, vampire hunters. The vampires get a little bit of an advantage. The heroes make a comeback. The vamps make the cutoff and get some heat on the faces. And then the good guys win. It's by the numbers, but here's a weird thing. It doesn't necessarily suffer for it. The absolute best part of this movie, though, is they are all in a camper sleeping. They're like way out in the desert. Everybody's in the camper. Family Matters is sleeping outside because he's claustrophobic. The hot lady master vampire just strolls up on his spot in the desert and starts making out with him. And he doesn't even question it. She gives him some Nancy Reagan throat goat head, and they kind of intimate that she bites his dick, but then it's never followed up on.
Of course.
So this either means that she was going to have control over him at some point and they just forgot about it, or Carl Winslow's son simply got a toothy blowjob in the wild. Either way, chef's kiss. Here's the thing. The practical effects were actually pretty good here. Like, this isn't a gore fest, but there are a few moments where it gets a little bit messy, and you can tell that the effects crew actually cared about what they were doing. The bad. Oof. The ruiner of scenes. Her name is Natasha Gregson Wagner.
Ooh,
I looked her up, and
is.
she's done a lot of movies and TV. Like, I recognized her, I just didn't know where from. So you probably will recognize her too if you're stupid enough to watch this movie like I did. I'm not sure what was going on here, but she literally ruined this entire film. Also, Bon Jovi's hair. Also, I found out there's a third installment in this series.
Ooh.
I'm not going to quit the show, like I said last week, because there's a third installment of this film, but Vampires: The Turning had better be a hidden fucking gem. That's all I'm saying.
I never even heard of that.
Vampires Los Muertos is going to get a C-, and I'll be back next week with Vampires: The Goddamn Turning. Until then, be good, everyone.
I swear to God, Joe, I did not know there was a third film. Please don't blame me for that. I had no idea. All right, well, let's see what Scott can blame me for this week. Somebody's going to blame me for something, right?
So I got a few questions about this week's show for Bill and Chris, so I'm just going to give them a quick call.
We apologize. Due to the overwhelming call volume, we are unable to receive your call or place you on hold at this time.
Say what?
Please visit our website for any additional stuff.
What website? What the fuck? I'm calling again.
Please stop calling. We're doing the best we can.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
Hey, flight's canceled. Still haven't talked to them, by the way.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
He's such a fucking dick.
He is.
He's such a dick.
I love you too. And welcome to Holy Shit. And recently I saw a movie I'd like to talk about that left a dinosaur-sized impact on me. But what movie was it?
I don't care.
Well, you'll have to wait to hear about that until I review your reviews of the Patreon pick movies from last week. Starting with Bamboozled, a movie that's apparently a ripoff of The Producers, involving a highly offensive show made to offend people on purpose. A movie made by Spike Lee, a man that confuses Bill.
So it just confuses me to be like, which Spike Lee is going to show up for this movie?
Yeah.
Like, which one? Well, the one that is the director that everyone says he is, or the one that's just kind of mailing it in and being like, you have to like it because I'm speaking about racial inequality.
Yeah.
Spike Lee does not, however, confuse Chris in the least.
He's made like 3 good movies.
Yeah.
And Bamboozled was not one of those good ones.
You got that right. Fuck this movie and fuck you, Spike Lee.
Sure.
So with that, I give Bamboozled a C-, and I give the review a B+, and I give Spike Lee a C. After that was Butterfly Kisses. No, not the song by Bob Carlyle, or the song by Jeff Carson, or the song by Cliff Richard, or the song by Westlife. This was a found footage flick by the late Eric Christopher Myers. So I think this movie was a meta faux documentary about Gavin York, and he wants to make a documentary, but what's he want to make that doc about, Bill?
The local urban legend basically says that if you go to this train tunnel at midnight, and you just stare down the tunnel without blinking for an hour at midnight to 1 a.m., Peeping Tom will appear at the end of the tunnel, and then he will follow you until he kills you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what seems to be the problem with that, Bill?
He wants to edit the footage together and create a film out of it, but the issue that he's running into is that, like, he can't verify anything, or he says that he can't verify anything. As far as he can tell, none of these people exist.
Yeah.
To which Bill responded during the review with confusion, saying he could have made that doc no problem because he's a filmmaker. There's nothing he can't make.
This air of arrogance that is just breathtaking.
Anyway, sounds like an interesting flick. I give it a B+, and I give the review an A-, and I give Bill's ego an A+. So back to the important stuff. What have I been watching? Well, like I said, I recently saw a movie at your boy the movie theater that left a dinosaur-sized impression on me. Can you guess what it was? That's right. I saw The Black Phone.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, I'm way ahead in this story.
Yep.
Let me rewind my brain.
This is a Blumhouse release starring Ethan Hawke and a brother and sister played by Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw. I wanted to mention them specifically because I was very impressed with their performances throughout this film, especially considering their young ages. So what is The Black Phone about? Well, it's hard to tell you exactly without giving too much away or doing what the trailers did and undersell it.
I think he doesn't know how to say it.
Well, on the surface, it's about the year of our Lord and my birth year, 1978, and a man in a black van wearing a creepy mask is abducting kids in this small town, and they're never seen again. Several kids have disappeared in a short amount of time. They call this mysterious kidnapper the Grabber. Eventually, our young hero Finn gets abducted himself. He finds himself in a cement basement with nothing but a mattress, a barred-up window, a toilet, some rolled-up carpet, and a disconnected black phone on the wall. Here's about where the trailer stops in presenting what this movie is all about.
And that's great. That's fine.
While I do hate spoilers and trailers, there's just so much more to this film than what they show. There's Finn's father, who's often drunk and is seemingly physically abusive to the daughter. They lost their mother to suicide, so he's the only parent in the home. But he's also kind of like a child himself, having Finn have to take care of him when he passes out drunk every night. Then there's Finn's sister Gwen, who's been having dreams, giving her premonitions, the most recent of which show black balloons. When the police start talking to the kids at the school, illegally I might add, looking for leads because they're incompetent, she mentions these black balloons and that piques their interest. They were found at the crime scenes, and this fact had never been released to the public, proving that what she's seeing isn't just all in her head.
And I love that.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I like that.
That's when the black phone on the wall next to Finn rings for the first time. This starts him down a path in the film of setups and an eventual large payoff at the end. It involves several of the other kids that had also been abducted, most of which who knew Finn. There's a theme of redemption and the need to stand up for yourself throughout the film. There's some mystery, but also a lot that isn't outright explained, leaving it for you to fill in the missing pieces yourself using what's given to you in the film. Will Gwen's premonitions help her find her brother in time? Are the things Finn is seeing all around him just in his own mind?
Yeah, you think, well, who knows, maybe, I mean, Jesus, anything could have happened, right? They could have, I don't know. But yeah, good question.
I'm actually really glad certain things aren't overly explained. It would have bogged down the movie with needless exposition and may have not actually been satisfactory in the way they explained it anyway. Like I said, everything throughout this film is set up very deliberately, but it may take the whole runtime of the film for you to realize it. Their father has a terrific character arc, even though he starts out as quite a fucking asshole. There's some great humor and touching moments and some great kid actors, and Ethan Hawke knocks it out of the park with his creepy acting as well. This was such a wonderful surprise of a film. Not necessarily a scary movie, but an indefinitely entertaining and interesting one. I give The Black Phone a straight A, and I highly recommend you go see it. Okay, that's it for this week. What'd you think, Bill?
Utterly really boring in the second half of it, and then just confusing because you're just hammering everything in so hard that nothing makes sense.
Okay, that's enough.
Because it's good, it's not great, but I could see why somebody would really love this, and I could also see why somebody would be like, yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Jesus, fine. Anyway, tune in Outside the Cinema next week when I ask Chris if he could tell a fat bitch to suck his dick. Please and thank you.
Yeah, she suck my dick, you fat bitch. You know.
Right.
There you go, Scott. You're welcome.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And finally, after that, I told Chris about an idea I had.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
All that and so many other ideas that aren't so good. But until then, peace and love, guys. Outside the Cinema, live on Twitch.
Bunch of sweaty people flinging their fluids everywhere. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of angry people.
Fluids. Gross. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening this week. We appreciate it. We appreciate Josh as a member of the Patreon. Thank him for the movies he sent us. I think they made for interesting discussions. Whether we like them or not is inconsequential.
Absolutely.
If you want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/outsidethecinema. Also, you can follow us on Facebook. Just do a search for Outside the Cinema in groups, and you can hang out there. We'll add you in as long as you're not a D-hole. Actually, if you're a D-hole, we'll add you in. You just won't stick around for that long.
That's true. That's true.
You can follow Chris and I on Instagram at OTCBill and at Cthulhu. Next week, we will have 2 more Patreon picks from the listeners. Yeah, that's about it, right, Chris?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is answer the questions when you join the Facebook group, or it's a no, dog. It's a no from me.
That's a no from me, dog.
Questions are there for a reason.
Speaking of a no from me, dog, we'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.